Hi, I'm Barry Smith. I'm a professor in the Communication Department at Mississippi University for Women. And as a part of observing Banned Books Week, I'd like to talk about my absolute favorite book, which is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I read this book every year. I read it many times. Whenever I go into a bookstore, if they have a copy of it, I buy it. I have many copies. I give them away to people whenever if I encounter someone who hasn't read the book yet, because the book has had such a great impact on me. I'm talking about this book for Banned Books Week because it has actually been banned and censored in various ways over the years. It has been banned because in the book someone burns a Bible, and so it was considered to be religiously offensive. There's language in the book that people have found offensive, dirty talking, profanity. But all of that misses the point of the book, because this is a book about a dystopian future in which firemen burn books rather than putting out fires at houses. It's a dystopian future in which censorship has run amok, and society can no longer tolerate books or any really expression of ideas that someone somewhere might find offensive. And what's the idea that's put forward in the book is that, basically you have to get rid of these things. Society has to get rid of these books because the ideas are too dangerous and they might make people unhappy. And as a young man, when I was growing up, I was raised by a single parent who had not finished high school. And so we didn't have a lot of educational attainment in my house. But I found refuge in the library, and my mom would take me to the library regularly, and she would let me roam the shelves, whatever I wanted. If I wanted to grab a stack of 20 books and check them out, I could check them out. And I would go home and I would devour them, and then we would go back. And in that exploration of books, ideas that I didn't have access to any other way were made available to me. And they helped me grow. They helped me to satisfy my curiosity about the world, about how other people viewed the world as it is and the world as it could be. I developed a fascination with science fiction that I still have today. I have the opportunity to teach classes about science fiction film, and that's wonderful, because science fiction tells us about what we think the future could be like, or in some cases, warnings about what the future could be like. And in Fahrenheit 451, I found a future that was scary, a future where being smart wasn't okay, and having ideas was something that was frowned upon in society. Ray Bradbury also is a wonderful author. He has a wonderful way with words. I've often considered him a national treasure. So I'd just like to read just a brief excerpt from Fahrenheit 451. It's a scene in which two of the firemen are talking. One, Beatty, is the fire chief, responsible again for making sure that all the books are burned. And one of his firemen, Guy Montag, has started to suffer some doubts that what they're doing might not be the thing that they should be doing. So that gets us into this scene here. Now Beatty was almost invisible, a voice somewhere behind a screen of smoke. "What's this?" asked Mildred, almost with delight. Montag heaved back against her arms. "What's this here?" "Sit down," Montag shouted. She jumped away, her hands empty. "We're talking." Beatty went on as if nothing had happened. "You like bowling, don't you, Montag?" "Yeah, bowling, yes." "And golf?" "Well, golf is a fine game." "Basketball?" "A fine game." "Billiards? Pool? Football?" "Fine games, all of them. More sports for everyone. Group spirit, fun. And you don't have to think, eh? Organize and super organize. Super sports. More cartoons and books, more pictures. The mind drinks less and less. Impatience. Highways full of crowds going somewhere. Nowhere. The gasoline refugee. Towns turned into motels. People in nomadic surges from place to place, following the moon tides, living tonight in the room where you slept this noon and I the night before. Mildred went out of the room and slammed the door. The parlor aunts began to laugh at the parlor uncles. Now let's take up the minorities in our civilization, shall we? Bigger the population, the more minorities. Don't step on the toes of the dog lovers, the cat lovers, doctors, lawyers, merchants, chiefs, Mormons, Baptists, Unitarians, second-generation Chinese, Swedes, Italians, Germans, Texans, Brooklynites, Irishmen, people from Oregon or Mexico. The people in this book, this play, this TV serial are not meant to represent any actual painters, cartographers, mechanics, anywhere. The bigger your market, Montag, the less you handle controversy. Remember that. All the minor minorities with their navels to be kept clean. Authors full of evil thoughts. Lock up your typewriters. They did. Magazines became a nice blend of vanilla tapioca. Books, so the damn snobbish critics said, were dishwater. No wonder books stopped selling, the critics said. But the public, knowing what it wanted, spinning happily, let the comic books survive. And the three-dimensional sex magazines, of course. There you have it, Montag. It didn't come from the government down. There was no dictum, no declaration, no censorship to start with. No. Technology, mass exploitation, minority pressure carried the trick, thank God. Today, thanks to them, you can stay happy all the time. You are allowed to read comics, the good old confessions, or trade journals. Yes, but what about the firemen? Asked Montag. Ah, Beatty leaned forward in the faint mist of smoke from his pipe. What more easily explained and natural, with school turning out more runners, jumpers, racers, tinkerers, grabbers, snatchers, flyers, and swimmers, instead of examiners, critics, knowers, and imaginative creators. The word intellectual, of course, became the swear word it deserved to be. You always dread the unfamiliar. Surely you remember the boy in your own school class who was exceptionally bright, did most of the reciting and answering while the others sat like so many leaden idols hating him. And wasn't this the bright boy you selected for beatings and tortures after hours? Of course it was. We must all be alike. Not everyone born free and equal, as the Constitution says, but everyone made equal. Each man the image of every other. Then all are happy, for there are no mountains to make them cower, to judge themselves against. So, a book is a loaded gun in the house next door. Burn it. Take the shot from the weapon. Breach man's mind. Who knows who might be the target of the well-read man? Me? I won't stomach them for a minute. And so when houses were finally fireproofed completely all over the world, you were correct in your assumption the other night. There was no longer need of firemen for the old purposes. They were given the new job as custodians of our peace of mind, the focus of our understandable and rightful dread of being inferior, official censors, judges, and executors. That's you, Montag, and that's me. The door to the parlor opened, and Mildred stood there looking in at them, looking at Beatty, and then at Montag. Behind her, the walls of the room were flooded with green and yellow and orange fireworks, sizzling to some music composed almost entirely of trap drums, tom-toms, and cymbals. Her mouth moved, and she was saying something, but the sound covered it. Beatty knocked the pipe into the palm of his pink hand, studied the ashes as if they were a symbol to be diagnosed, and searched for meaning. You must understand that our civilization is so vast that we can't have our minorities upset and stirred. Ask yourself, what do we want in this country above all? People want to be happy, isn't that right? Haven't you heard it all your life? I want to be happy, people say. Well, aren't they? Don't we keep them moving? Don't we give them fun? That's all we live for, isn't it? For pleasure, for titillation, and you must admit, our culture provides plenty of these. Yes. It's one scene from Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. It's my favorite book, and it's a book that has been banned several times in the U.S., and it's good evidence of why we shouldn't ban books, why we shouldn't stand for censorship, and why we should make sure that books are out there and ideas are out there for everyone to see and enjoy and weigh for themselves. Thank you.